I think the Dead by Daylight community has a problem with the concept of love. You see, behavior makes a ton of mistakes, a lot of changes that people most in fact do hate. And a lot of people say, oh my goodness, these developers have no idea what they're doing. They don't play their game, they're terrible designers. And I mentioned that a couple of videos before, people would review bomb their game, review bomb every single DLC they have. There's this sort of hatred for the game developers. And I would like to bring us back to a season with a game developer called Patrick that people didn't like because he was out of touch. Mind you, this is a game developer that a lot of people hate. He came up with a concept that a win should be based upon the amount of kills you get rather than the amount of hooks. That's a better way to have a concept of skill, focusing on the results of a match rather than the progress it takes to get that result. Mistakes don't matter if they never transmute into a kill. And the community blew up on this, saying, oh, kills equal skill. If I don't get any kills, but I got like the max amount of hooks, then I'm not a skilled player because I made a mistake of not killing people, right? The community bashed and had this profound hatred to that particular game developer because of that incident. Let's bring this back to the concept of love. Isn't this kind of hypocritical? You see, a game developer comes out about making mistakes and how making mistakes don't mean anything if the result is not good, okay? The game developers, they make a crap load of design decision mistakes. They nerf things that they shouldn't nerf, they touch things that they shouldn't touch, and the game developers of Dead by Daylight make a plethora, thousands of mistakes. And because of that, the Dead by Daylight community absolutely goes off because the result of the mistakes that were made by behavior was a stressful experience, a not fun experience. The very thing the Dead by Daylight community persecuted Patrick, the game developer, for is the very same way they are acting towards the game developers. There's a sense of lack of forgiveness here. Because yes, even though behavior does mess up, you gotta admit, they eventually get to the point of sorting themselves out. There's a verse in the Bible. Lord, how oft shall my brother sin against me, and I forgive him? Till 7 times? Jesus saith unto him, I say not unto thee until 7 times, but until 70 times 7. For you see, to forgive out of love is to forgive 340 times. You're never supposed to keep count. It's supposed to be this sort of selfless love, this sort of not keeping a record of wrongs. In the community, they don't know how to do that. This community loves to keep grudges to its game developers. If the game developers did one thing wrong, they'd be like, you remember that one thing they did? Well, they suck because of it. You remember that one other thing they did? They suck because of it. But you see, to love properly is to unconditionally love, to not keep count of the amount of times you forgive somebody for doing something wrong. Because, well, it'd be a story if behavior never listened to their community, but they eventually get to it, even if it takes 5, 6, or 7 years to get to it. But besides the point, the Dead by Daylight community has some sort of trauma after all these years of neglect in terms of design decisions rendered for promises promised. But if you play a game that traumatizes you this much, we have this very fickle community that sticks with it no matter what. Even if the developers' design decisions are excruciatingly painful to sit through. Matter of fact, I believe maybe some people get off on it. So if community members decide to stay within a game that makes them feel that way, my belief is that this community needs to learn how to love properly. In the Bible, it says, love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. So the community appears to have this sort of undying love for Dead by Daylight as a game, as a whole. I'm committing to it with a relentless heart because the community knows how much potential it has, how much fun it is. For goodness sake, we have people with 10,000, 20,000 hours in this game. And that's a rarity for the core community to be that dedicated. Behavior's got something special here. But I wonder that maybe, just maybe, the reasons why people stick with Dead by Daylight, why people play it, even if it feels like torture and it hurts, and all the neglect. I wonder if the majority of this community sticks with this game is more out of a feeling of hate rather than love. A loving to hate rather than love. This brings me back to the point of how I believe that the community needs to learn how to love, because the foundation therewith is not a love out of patience, kindness, lack of envy, not keeping a record of wrongs, but a love of, I want to see the next time they mess up. A love of, I wonder how the game developers are going to miscommunicate in the developer stream, or how many bugs this next patch is going to be. Oh yes, I come back for the content patches because I like to see the new killers, but oh man, how are they going to mess up this time? If the community truly wants to enjoy this game and the experience of playing it, people need to learn how to love more like Jesus. Okay? I know I talk about him a lot. A man whose God becomes human and dies for the sins of the world, so that anybody who believes in him could receive salvation through belief in what he does, right? This sort of unconditional love that no matter how much people mistreat you, no matter how much people hate you, are angry at you, you still forgive them. You love them anyway. At part of the core root of the problem within this community is its toxicity. And it's something that I covered 2 videos ago, with people telling each other to hang themselves, put each other on a noose, to off themselves, review bombing. It's sort of putting behavior in this sort of victim abuser circumstance. And that community reaction, that community behavior creates a sort of toxic reaction from the game developers as well. This sort of abuse in the community creates this sort of stonewalling from behavior. This sort of, I don't need to really put up with this. I'm going to stick with people that want to support us, and like maybe we need to just do our own thing, and making the community feel ignored. And it's just this sort of like visceral, savage toxicity against ego, stonewalling sometimes, and pride. The relationship between the game developers and its community is extremely toxic. And part of one of the core reasons, the core aspects, is grounded and rooted in the community loving to hate, being too overly toxic, and not giving the developers enough leeway, not being patient, not keeping in a record of no account of wrongs. I almost wonder if the community learned how to act more in an essence of love, that the game developers and their design and better good design decisions would follow. For I feel this neglect of the game developers has become a mirror image of the community's toxicity. So I wonder if the community learned to love to not hate, of that sort of love that Jesus has, that sort of love that the game developers kind of crave, will reflect back onto its game developers. In essence, this is an extremely difficult task to do, as how can you really change a community? Well, the first step is pointing out the core root problem behind particular acts of behavior. And once these behaviors are pointed out and exposed under a spotlight, only then can such behavior be reconciled, be mended. Matter of fact, the first step to fixing a problem is acknowledging the problem. Thereafter, then comes the fixing, then comes the mending, which is why I'm making this video, to shine a spotlight and show you guys about it. So, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, and yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it.